All right, here we go again. I think that I am ready to do something. I don't know what, but I want to do something. And so long as I am able to do something, I will succeed. Today marks the first day in a long time that I've gotten off somewhat remotely on time, which would mean that I really should go to the gym, because I haven't gone to the gym in a very long time. But I'm not going to squander my first and potentially only opportunity to succeed for something quite like that. So instead, I will continue to strive and to thrive in the best way that I can. And hopefully I can succeed in becoming a success. And that is a very bland and silly way perhaps to talk about what it is I'm trying to do and accomplish, but that is where my brain is now, and where my brain tends to be when I say and or do these sorts of things. And hopefully things at work start to pan out for the better. We had an individual who was supposed to be kind of our saving grace, and they made it 3 days in, and then they called out on us. And we're hoping that it's a legitimate sickness and not a shell shock of regret. That's always the worry, is that we scare people away before they get the chance to even succeed, really. And that certainly doesn't feel good, but it happens. And like in this modern world, in this working world, it's perhaps more frequent than anyone would like for it to be. It's also very difficult to hang on to really anything that is worth hanging on to. A lot of jobs, roles, people are very not worth the hassle, if you will. And with that mentality comes the idea that most of these things are disposable. I hear a mixed bag of stories as to whether or not it is hard or easy to find a job in this market. I feel like at one point in time, immediately after COVID, it was very difficult, or it was very easy to find a job. I felt like there was now hiring signs everywhere, and it was hard to not find a job at that point, because like I said, everybody was hiring everywhere. And then from there, I've noticed that there's less hiring signs out and about, but I'm also getting like mixed signals where some people are like, oh my gosh, it's still super easy to find a job. And other people are like, I searched for months before finding a job. And I don't know that I've reached the point of wanting to resign quite yet. I talk about it a lot because things are quite stupid. But I don't know if I've honestly reached the point where I'm like, okay, I'm just going to resign and call it a day. I don't know if I've gotten there yet. But if that's not the case, then like, yeah, just where does the job market actually land? I had made a video, one of my more popular videos actually, about the state of the job market today, and how I can remember at one point in time it being incredibly easy to find help wanted signs all over the place. and now they're fewer and further between. But is that because I'm just not paying attention to them? Are all employers short people? I think the internet revolution is something that a lot of people don't realize. The internet is a career path that was not a career path until before maybe 15 years ago, maybe even less time than that. Like, when YouTube first came on the scene, it was not employing video creators. And I remember when it came out that these first content creators were making money on YouTube, it was a whole big deal. They were seen as like celebrity status people. And then as YouTube grew and grew and grew, as did its ability to, for lack of a better term, employ other content creators. And even though it functions more closely to self-employment, it is still a form of employment. And this highway looks like it's backed up all the way to hell and back. That's fun. Now we gotta play with traffic. I don't know if you guys can see it or not, but yeah. Traffic as far as the eye can see. And oh boy. This is gonna be a fun one. I wonder if this person's gonna let me over. Thanks, buddy. I appreciate you. This person next to me still hasn't gotten over yet. Get over, bud. Alright, well, we are stuck in traffic, which should be the perfect opportunity to gather our thoughts and talk about the more important things in life. I'm not for sure that that's going to happen because I'm just still blown out from work and trying to wrap my head around everything else. But at least my head is somewhere in the right space to where I can still acknowledge, like, I'm not super pissed off at the world. I'm pretty fed up with a lot of things right now. And hopefully, you just keep holding out, the things will get better. They keep dangling carrots in front of your face. And it's just like, okay, well, this might get better, might not. This might get worse, this might get better. I don't know. And, like, at what point in time do you give up on the carrot dangling and be like, you know what? Nope, not gonna do it. I don't care about carrots anymore. And I've reached a critical point of not caring in this job, and that I've reached probably the minimum amount of not caring that I can get whilst still doing a good enough job, if that makes any sense. So hopefully I can bounce back from this. I'm just hoping that we get some solid hires in for good people who care about the job and want to do good work. But at the end of the day, I'm just not feeling very confident that even when we are up to snuff with the numbers that we've concocted, that we'll be in that great of a place. And it's unfortunate to be that way. It's unfortunate to face that reality, but it is a reality that we face. And so hopefully we can just make the best of what's given to us and continue to do better. And that's really all I can say, all I can attempt to say. But I just really hope that we get to a place that we get to a place that's more tolerable than where we are now. I hope we don't scare more people off than we already have. That's honestly a dreadful thought when you start losing the people who are committed. And it's hard as a leader to save face during all this, because I'm just as fed up and tired of it as they are. And I don't know how this turned into a rant about work. I shouldn't say I don't know how. I do know how. It's the constant thing that's on my mind these days. I cannot not think about it, because it has become all-encompassing, all-consuming. Like, when I'm not at work, I'm still thinking of work. I oftentimes get home and place orders well after I've gotten home and settled down for the day. And hours that I would spend at home doing at-home things, I'm now spending at work, or at home doing at-work things. And it just, we need a break. We need the storm to crack, so to speak, for things to kind of fall into play just a little bit better. And I don't know the who, what, when, where, why of it all, but I do know that I'm just a little tired of the current status of things, and trying to not let it affect me is rather difficult. And I feel like I was on a different pathway with this conversation before it spiraled into work problems and work drama. And I really wish that I could remember where that was going. But it has been derailed to the point now where my pathway is unrecognizable, and that I cannot clearly think and or remember what I was trying to say and or do. So hopefully at some point in time I can recall where I was going with that. But until then, I'm just going to proceed on with what I've been talking about, and think that hopefully what was once on my mind will return. But yeah, they're running it tight and uncomfortable, and we have to hope that eventually the pendulum will swing in the other direction, where they're like, okay, we've tightened up and we've done all these terrible things, and now we're back to where we want to be. How can we assist you all in making this a better place? Like, as a work environment, I do have faith in the fact that they try to do what's right. Right now it's hard to see it, because it seems like they're actively trying to do what's wrong. And until we get to a point where we can accurately decipher between the two, it's going to be hard to know what steps to take. Really, all I can do is all I'm doing, and I'm not sure that that's enough or not enough, or too much or too little. Just trying to figure out what the overarching goal is and how I can fit and or play into it. And that's a very conformist way to think. You're conforming to the goals, the aspirations, the wants of your company, but that's also kind of the way that you need to be, in that the wants, the goals, the aspirations of your company should align with what you're doing or trying to do. If employment is something that you're wishing to keep, if you are flippant with your employment and could care less, then yeah, perhaps you'll do these things that are less aligned with the vision, but like, you put yourself on the hot seat every time you do that. And I'm not sure that anyone else is really willing to be in the hot seat. And I don't really know how other people handle the hot seat. I also see a lot of other people around me, I feel like, doing a lot worse than me and succeeding a lot more or about the same. So that does make me feel a little bit better in that I pretty much only have myself to blame if something goes awry. But I also don't know at what point in time is it no longer worth the income. Like, at what point in time does your pay no longer how big not become worth the stress that you are being forced to endure? And I feel like that is a valid question to ask. I have the privilege, if you will, to even be able to ask the question and be in a position where I can be like, is this worth it? Because there's a lot of people who are like, no, it's not worth it, but I can't do anything about it. And I'm like, it's still kind of worth it, but I wish I could do something about it. Well, the problem is I can do something about it. And that's where the dangerous decision making comes into play, because I do have the power to do something. I just need to commit to doing it. And until I commit to doing it, I really don't know where else to go, what else to say. And so, yeah, we'll just have to hope that the entire thing gets to be in a better way, and that one of these days I can be making a video and be like, ugh, you remember how horrible it was? It's so much better now. And here in the thick of terribleness, I can't see the better now portion of it. But I have to hope that one day I will. That one day I can wake up and be like, oh man, we made it through that. We made it through the rain. And now we are doing what we're doing. The honest opinion about the whole thing is the idea that things were probably never as good as they were in November. In November, we had a solid thing going. And we lost a decent chunk of people, but not the same amount of people as we did today. And filling roles back then was not as hard as it is now. But it's like I lost 3, maybe 4 people at that time. So yeah, that's not nearly as detrimental as it is now. Like, presently, almost my entire staff is turning over. And I don't know how to adapt to that, if you will. And, well, I mean, I do. It's just the adaptation is just doing the work. And then there's so much fixing and other work that needs to be done in the process that it really kind of lends you to defeat when you try and fix anything and you have to leave all these things half done because you're moving on to something else. And I know it's the sort of stuff that scared one person away in particular. They just drove them nuts, the work that needed to be done. And it was just not their cup of tea. But I wonder sometimes if I should have taken that role rather than the individual that they had in that role doing it. And it's a step down from where I am now, but it's more in my wheelhouse. Like, I could literally just do my thing and not care and be perfectly happy with that. And I think that's something to be said. And that's the other frustrating thing is you build all these things and they're all nice and pretty and beautiful, and then when the actual world gets a hold of them, they turn them to mush and they're instantly ruined, and it's just a whole big old thing. It's like, I built you guys this palace, and all you need to do is maintain it, and you let it turn to dust. And it's frustrating, but That is the reality of what I exist in right now. And the idea of whatever it was I was talking about before this never did come back. It doesn't look like this was a terribly good camera angle either. It looks like you guys didn't see me the entire time. These videos are just a whole heap of quality, aren't they? Anyway, thank you for stopping by, and we'll talk again soon.